That brief hesitation was all it took to spawn a great evil. It crawled through the fields, ran through the hills, and spread disaster in the skies above. Book of Ezer, verse 2, Disaster Unleashed. And those symbols that just passed, and there's a cube there. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the third. I'm guessing that's the Aureoles, the core, remember, is that super gemstone. I bet you that's what those were. It's like one of each type that's like a super gemstone, a massive gift that became a great curse to the people. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome to Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, third chapter. And yeah, so I know this has been a while, been building into it. Again, if you're newer here, just know that I am kind of committed at this point. I need to play all the Legend of Heroes games. The Trails in the Sky series was fantastic. It's one of the favorite games I've ever come across to this day. I think about it all the time. I took a little breather from it because I want to also play the Yakuza games, and so I decided to kind of go back and forth between the series so I can kind of slowly progress through them both. And it's time we're back here. Oh, it feels good. This is beautiful already. Very excited and very interested because I get the impression from the little snippets I've seen, like I saw a little bit from like the trailer that was on Steam, and just kind of my general knowledge. I get the impression that this game is foundationally the same, set in the same like locations as 1 and 2. So I imagine we're going to be in Liberl. We're going to be seeing a lot of the same sites and probably even seeing a lot of the same characters again. But it's some kind of story that happens later. And unlike the first two, which were basically the same game, just kind of cut in half because for brevity's sake and maybe to have proper development, but this game is going to be almost like an after story for that. I'm guessing, again, it's just going to be kind of a launching point for what would become this much more successful and much more expansive collection of games. Maybe the first chapter and the second chapter were a dream game that people came out with, but back then especially, you didn't know what you were going to do with your game from that point on. You just kind of put out your heart and soul and hope that it worked. And then it was successful. There were people who wanted it, who loved it. And so it gave them the opportunity to expand their universe. And I said, okay, I think this third chapter is going to be tying up some loose ends from the first game and also launching us probably into the beginning and the foundation of what will become the greater series. So, I hope you forgive me. It's been long enough. There's going to be tiny little details that I'm probably going to miss or call outs that I might overlook. But I do pride myself in having a pretty solid memory, especially about core components. So characters, their arcs, some of the conversations that they've had, and some of the more interesting side quests, I'm sure I'm going to remember pretty well. I did download the patch, so it should be voiced. I don't know if that'll be a good or a bad thing for you all, but bear with me there. And yeah, we're gonna be here. So I'm rambling a lot, but like I'm glad to be here. Most likely you're here if you are a fan of this series and you've watched the rest of my playthroughs. If you haven't, I recommend you watch them. I'm coming onto this blind, so if you want to see a genuine reaction to like the story, the twists, the characters, absolutely recommend it. If you're here and you're like, I don't know about all that, but I want to see what you think of this game, get on with it. We'll get on with it. But thank you so much for joining me. Hope you enjoy. I love it. I love every piece of this series. So you're gonna be stuck with me for a while, because the best thing I can do here is I break down. I will talk about the characters, the world building, my impression of things. I'll talk about it as a game, how it delivers stuff, but I'll also talk about just what it's trying to do. You're going to be getting the pure honesty from me. You're going to be seeing what I genuinely think about it. And I'm going to take those moments to really share my thoughts. It's not just going to be a playthrough. I will do my best to do as much of the game as I can. I have yet to do a 100%ing on my first playthrough, and that's because I asked that nobody hold my hand. Maybe you can give me little hints about stuff. Maybe there's a quest I could easily miss if I just blast through somewhere. You could give me a heads up about that. But don't tell me how to do things. Don't give me any specific guidance. whilst it's painful how close I get to 100%ing each game on my own, I still think it's good for me to have that genuine personalized experience where I kind of dictate my own fate. Speaking of dictating my fate, though, I'm curious if it's going to have me load a save from the first 2 games, because the second chapter let me load my like end game save. So I'm going to see if it'll do this for me for the third one, or if that just won't really matter. I don't know what to expect there. But yeah, I'm just dilly-dallying enough, I suppose. I think we probably better get started, shall we? Maybe one thing I'll check is I'll tweak the options a bit, and then we'll jump right in. So, oh boy, let's get going. All right, here we go. All right, I like how they're actually giving us options here. So, easy, a gentle balance for easy progression for beginners. Normal, average difficulty for those wanting a little challenge. Hard, difficult setting for those who find normal a bit lacking. Nightmare, it's your funeral. May adios be with you. I'm impressed by people who can play that. Frankly, I think you got to remember. I remember being told when I was younger that I got a warning saying like, hey, if you're playing a game from Japan and you're getting difficulty sliders, you should assume everything is bumped up harder than it sounds. Maybe the Japanese core gamers were just a lot more hardcore. But yeah, like basically I was told like, hey, if you want a challenging experience, do normal. If you want it to be bone breaking, do hard. And if you literally want it to be unwinnable, do nightmare. Like that's the way it was. Like even easy, they said that wouldn't be super easy. So we're gonna stick with normal. I feel like with the game, as I played the first 2, I was able to accomplish most things pretty well, but there were some fights I had to repeat because I stumbled into a gimmick or just kind of lost the plot for some reason, maybe brought the wrong character, and I have to kind of push myself. I also like doing things on like on a normal setting because sometimes there's a reason thematically to take a character with you that's not optimal, but you can have like are more likely to have more interesting interactions. Good example is in Zeiss, you can bring Tita along because everyone knows Tita, but I've never found Tita to be a super optimal choice of character. In the second chapter, she was better, but I still wouldn't say she was fantastic. Her abilities were interesting, but I always felt like either a heavy melee attacker or a magic caster was far more effective. So that's a great example of I would rather have a normal setting where I can bring somebody along plot reasons and not necessarily for, oh, I need this person to survive. All right, Trails in the Sky, SC, save data found, load data, yes. Yeah, I don't know, like this is our game. I don't know what it will do. Like in the first game, you got like a little bonus based on how well you progress in the second game. So I wonder if that'll be something similar. But yeah, this is our save. This is literally our game. So nothing changed. I didn't go back and fix anything. It's just the way we ended that game. So yeah, let's do it. All right. Year 1203 of the Septian calendar, fall, just over half a year since the Liberl Ark's collapse. So it's been like 7 months. Cruising through the night sky above the Kuruzin province in eastern Erbonia. Okay. So this is over the Empire. Was the Reinford Company's latest display of luxury, the Lestania. Whoa! That's cool. Luxury Lestitania. It's like a floating garden ship. That's cool. This is something we could really not do with our technology of flight because like soil and water are so heavy. It'd be insane to try and have a floating garden. But through the power of Stepfifth. Ooh. Still, the visuals are very similar, but look at this. Legend of Heroes. Trails in the Sky the Third. If I may have your attention, please.
本日は私どもコンラート社の主催するパーティーにお越しいただき、誠にありがとうございました。
Oh yeah.
皆様もご周知のことと存じますが。
Oh, so what's happening today, huh?
その通り。
Oh wait, that's Kevin. I can see that. I know that hair.
10年前の本日、 我がコンラート社は
退屈そうですわね。
I don't know who you are, but okay.
でも聞くふりだけでもしておいた方がよろしくってよ。この場所にいらっしゃる以上、あの方がどういう人物であるかご存知のはずでしょうから。
Also, I'm going to point out that the isometric items on the tables do not rotate with the camera in this cutscene, so we can get that glorious 2D impressions here. Very cool, though.
ヘルマン・コンラート。
Oh, Kevin, look at you.
かの百日戦役の折に財を成し、信仰ながら帝国有数の資産家として名を馳せている死の将。
So he was an opportunist and might be working or an agent with Ouroboros, because Ouroboros deals with like death and war. They are and they secure allies by giving them inside information, which allows them to get the leg up.
そして数年前からラインフォルトグループと提携し、取締役を兼任しているほどの人物。いやはや、経歴だけを見たら確かに大した御仁です。こうして実物を見ていると、いささか拍子抜けではありますが。
そんなことを口にしてしまって、いくら仮面をつけているとはいえ、あちらにいる黒服の方々に取り囲まれても知りませんわよ。
Naughty men in black. Now I see referencing the kind of the knot bracers, the mercenary corps. I know I recognize their name, but it's not coming to me at the minute. Or is she talking about somebody else?
恐ろしい話ですな。大方、私のような無粋者はつまみ出されてしまうのでしょう。その窓を破ってポイッとね。
本当に面白い方ね。
I imagine you're going to be the actual most dangerous person in this hallway, or this like dinner party.
マスコミの方？いえ、意外とお役人さんだったりするのかしら。
ご想像にお任せしますよ。
Now that text does not seem to reflect the audio there, but like I love that. I'll leave the pondering to your fertile imagination, mademoiselle. That's such a smooth line. I love it.
それにしても船の中とはとても思えませんね。ましてや地上何千アージュの高みにいるとは。
新造されたばかりのラインホルトの飛行客船。今のところ世界最大級の飛行船という触れ込みでしたかしら。
Oh well, that's certainly not true.
全長120アージュというと、あくまで表の世界では。
Exactly.
ですが。
思わせぶりですわね。そんな謎めいた言葉で女を引きつけようとするなんて。
Yeah.
まだお若い様子なのに随分手慣れていらっしゃること。
おっと、お見通しでしたか。やれやれ。これ以上尻尾を出さぬうちに退散した方が良さそうだ。
I don't think he's lying there. I think he's actually probably contemplating just trying to just bow out before he gets in too much trouble.
気が向いたらまたおしゃべりに付き合ってくださる？
Now, default Kevin would probably be all over that, but I also always thought that his talk was a bit of a show, a mask of its own.
このような名も知れぬ相手との楽しい語らい。めったにある機会ではありませんもの。なんでしたら、このパーティーが終わってから、
Holy crap,
あ
she's
なたのお
forward.
部屋ででもゆっくりと。
Yep. What are you gonna do, Kevin? I don't think you're going to, because I imagine I get the impression that despite his talk, Kevin's a man of work first, play later.
光栄です、マダム。エイドスの目を盗むことができたら喜んで。
Oh, snap, dude.
あなたの部屋ではいけない理由は、まあ聞かないでおきましょう。
嫌な方。
Oh, snap. Kevin, you are smooth.
縁も竹縄、そろそろ頃合いだな。
What are we gonna do, Kevin?
彼のプライベートルームは甲板デッキを抜けた最上階。よし、動くとするか。
Gotta get to his room, huh? Alright, we're here. Alright, camp. This looks very familiar. Oh, it's interesting though. We don't have a whole lot of options quite yet. Let's see. Oh yeah, so by the way, I did switch it so the battle voices are in English. People were saying that they missed that, and I can understand why, because it's very like reminiscent. Most people didn't get to play with like the merged audio tracks. So I can switch that if you want, if you like the Japanese version more, but a lot of people said they missed the English ones last time, so I'm gonna keep that on unless I hear otherwise. And then yeah, so I could just do a quick save just to make sure we're all set up. All right, let's see what we got here. Might I interest you in something to drink, sir? We have some well-aged Stein roast if you would care for some. Isn't that like the super expensive stuff? Holy crap. Conrad Company might have made a lot of progress in the past 10 years. But that was all thanks to the Rydford group. They couldn't have done a thing by themselves, so they got no right to try and act big. They need to realize their place. This truly is a spectacular ship. I was getting sick and tired of looking at the gloomy skies of the capital, so this is a wonderful change of scenery. I'll have to be sure to make the most of tonight. I don't know if I want to talk to everybody, but let's go around. I want to see if there's anyone here I recognize. Madam, what a surprising coincidence to find you here. I wasn't aware you had been invited to this party as well. Did that happen when you were in the Brayhard buying furs, perchance? Yes, actually. Still, I would very much appreciate if you could keep this a secret from my husband. Oh, I wouldn't dream of telling him. Oh, you. When it comes to quality, Brighteart cannot be beaten. In particular, the fur of the black mink raised in the north is so soft it's simply divine. Someone's certainly cheering up in a hurry. Yeah. You have much to learn about the ways of the world, young man. The national government is more or less a collection of civil servants, all with their flaws and weaknesses. You can get anything out of it as long as you know the right buttons to push. Oh, that feels gross. Who does this upstart chancellor think he is? He's done his stitch marching into politics from out of the army. He's passed one unpleasant law after another. Can't understand how he thinks. What's the benefit in appeasing commoners all the time? Pardon me, but you haven't seen my wife around, have you? I keep telling her not to go wandering off without telling me, but she never listens. Hold on. This could be Madame Frisky's oaf of a man. Well, yes, I should probably have it by now. It starts getting cold. I'll take that tart there, too, if you don't mind. So, that's Mr. Oafy. Today's dish of choice is esteemed abalone with cream made with the highest standards of our chefs. I should insist you try it. I'm certain you'll become a fan. Now, dare we go and approach our target? There's plenty of entertainment to look forward to this evening. Furlan de Ciel's concert will be beginning soon. At 11, we'll be holding an opera. Ciel. That sounds familiar for some reason. Should I recognize that? I don't know why, but that's sticking out to me as a name. Be sure not to miss them. Being part of the vast Reinford group at the Conrad Company certainly has strong backing and support in it, working toward the greater growth. After all, the Reinford group is immensely successful, and it manufactures everything from military weapons to household goods. Perhaps I should consider increasing my investment in the group, That's what these parties are for. Must say I'm impressed by how reliable the security guards at today's party appear. I've been thinking it was about time to recruit some new personnel to my own private RV too. Perhaps I ought to ask Conrad where he found these people. Might be able to recruit some of them too. I'm sorry, what was that? I said that the Mascarade hoped to disguise the beauty of your ivory white skin, or the luster of those fine red lips. Well, ain't she the flatterer? So she's just around flirting. Please pay us no mind. We are merely here so you enjoy the party to its fullest. I apologize for our boorish presence here at the most elegant occasion. I'm afraid it's necessary evil in order to ensure the safety of our guests. And all I can do is ask for your understanding. Now, I don't know if it's intentional, but look at his outfit, and specifically his shades. We've seen shades like that before. On the wolf, can't remember his name. I always like, I just see him in my head. But I wonder if they're trained by him. That could explain why they have this distinctive look. And I believe it's meant to reflect like a mafia / yakuza feel. You sure know how to hold a party, Conrad. Not many are wealthy enough to be able to organize a gathering like this in the sky. Absolutely. Well, if my guests are satisfied, then I have done my job. Still, today's party is all but a minor diversion compared to what the future holds for us. Quiet the gathering we've got here. That looks like Marquis Ballard, known for his extravagant spending, and this guy is the president of the One Big Jeweler, Chorus & Co. Hopefully they'll keep our friend occupied for a while. Alright, and then is there anything else we can do? There's always little Easter eggs and secrets you can dig up. Why does she have to choose a party like this to feel unwell? Hope she isn't faking it to stay in her room. Must she oppose me at every turn? Nobility. Yes, Lady Lindell is currently resting in her room. She said that she's feeling a little unwell at the moment, you see? Yeah, we got that. Okay. I think that's everybody. Let's go ahead and get going. Oh, what was that? Did you see that? Who the fetch was that? That looked like a freaking demon.
妙だな。誰かに見られていたような。
That's not good.
まあいい。とっとと始めるとしよ
う。That
目指すは甲板デッキの先。最上階のプライベートルームだ。
That doesn't bode well. Alright, let's go invade Pearson's rooms and look around. Well, it's supposed to be the latest airship for Rydford. Oh, it's certainly comfortable enough to be. I'll have to try and travel on it again whenever I can. Oh man, I get this feeling if Kevin's here, things are gonna go sideways and this ship will not be in the air very long. Even the furnishings of the rooms all seem to be the highest class. I have to say I'm impressed. Terra Bomb. The treasure chest revealed itself to be a crafty mimic. It licks you on an unsuspecting hand. Better break it out the disinfectant. I said entirely in the first two games, they're all mimics. I knew it. I was wondering if he's going to comment on the fact that I just went through his stuff. The staff is listed in Union's library. Hope you will well enjoy your time relaxing here. Are they going to actually have collections of books I can read? I know that's always your favorite when I just sit and read all the books. Oh, I can't seem to relax aboard this ship. Everything's just so fancy and luxurious. It's all too much for an old man like me. There are rumors that Kaz was a new weapon developed in the Liberal Army, though. That sounds most serious to me. Although it's hard to be sure, since the government issued a ban on talking about the whole thing after the fact. Oh, they're talking about the Liberal Arc. And without any official announcements on the matter, all we're left with is hearsay. You're talking about when they couldn't use ordnance all of a sudden along the southern edge of Erebonia? I heard that even the trains and international flights in the region had to be stopped on account of it. I hadn't a clue what caused it all, though. I can't imagine it was anything that serious, at least. Bro, it was like the worst thing it could have been. The ship does have a fine collection of books. I wonder which I should read first. Oh, there's something. The bookshelf contains chapter of the Carnelia. Oh my gosh, it's all of them. Oh boy. Do we do this? Hang on. I want to see. Carnelia sounds familiar. I feel like we did read this one, or at least most of it. Yeah, we did read this one. I think this was in the first one. But if it's giving it to us, it might be relevant to the story. I'm gonna read it, but I promise if you look in the description, I'm gonna put timestamps. I'll timestamp this book, and if you don't care about it, you can skip to the next timestamp. I'll put a timestamp at the end of whatever the book series is. So bear with me, but if you want to, I love the world building these books tell us, and oftentimes they actually are a bit of a primer for what will become relevant in the story in the future. Like, it's really well done how they did that. So the fact that it's giving it to this, I think is going to be kind of setting us up for what's about to happen. So I'm going to read them. So let's do it. I stood there, upright in front of the revolving door, scuffing the heels of my boots against the ground. Pulling slightly on the collar of my trench coat, I dropped my chin and gazed at a particular reflection in the curved glass. Aside from my short-cropped hair, I wore a modest-looking, double-breasted leather raincoat and a pair of special order, steel-reinforced boots, both of which at first glance appeared to be the most common of common apparel. Yet they were in fact much more than the naked eye could detect. By ordinary, average appearance, it was just as much importance today as it had been on any other day in times past. Not far off, the sound of footfalls echoed rhythmically, like the steady beat of a pendulum swinging back and forth. as the throngs of those coming and going moved quickly along the cobblestoned avenue, enveloped in tinged silver by morning mist. At times, the calling voices of a street peddler disrupted the steady flow. But as soon as the hawking cry faded away, it would resume its course. Each moment that I found myself setting foot in the Imperial City, I also found my surroundings to be unchanged and stained by the same somber tone of gray. Snatching up a magazine from the underarm of a street vendor, I tossed a few mirror into the left hand and poised expectantly behind his back. The Imperial Chronicler, the magazine I read so often that even the ink bleeds were familiar. Roughly flipping open its cover, I scanned the headlines along the top of the monochrome pages. Then suddenly, my breath caught in my throat. At the very bottom of the local news page, I found those letters, the sequence of characters which I had not heard nor seen since the time of that life-changing incident. My eyes instantly gravitated to the spot and for a time remained fixated. In Stelnat. The very meaning of those letters became lost in my senses as I stood motionless and a gaze fixed on the same line of text until it all seemed to coalesce into a single blotch of ink. After a few seconds of blank comprehension, my vision settled and I wrenched my eyes to the beginning of the article. As I began to read, my memories verged on a single point in my past and then slowly started to run in reverse, heading for the fateful event 3 years prior, when this name was first introduced to me. It was on an afternoon all those years ago, on the day unlike this one, where the capital was overshadowed by the typical gloomy aura. It was a little younger than now, a 22-year-old boy who stood silently in front of the boutique door as usual, double-checking his appearance before lightly treading over to Mitch's Imperial Factory. It was on this day that had been arranged for me to receive a new job from Mitch, the shop owner himself. Although he was a drab, middle-aged man, I, being an Orbman enthusiast had found myself one of his few regular customers. Headed down a dank alleyway, and after passing through a particularly rotted wooden gate, I could see a soft glow of the flickering orb light just outside the entrance of the factory, whose structure was half below street level. I first began receiving jobs from Mitch around the same time when decision began to occur in society over 100 Days' War. It was during this period the relations between the Liberl Kingdom and the Empire were at their worst, and the importation of ornaments had become almost non-existent. Conspiring with underground elements and planning a smuggling operation, Mitch made me out to be his accomplice in a crime. For the job which I received by his hand was none other than that of a courier. Being nothing more than a commoner in my teens and the time I met him, a juvie devoid of any connections of life besides, I naturally jumped at the opportunity without a moment's hesitation. Yet, even after relations with Liberl had returned to some degree of normalcy, I realized I was in no mood to give up my specialty, which focused mainly on the delivery of stolen goods. The reason being, there was no job out there which could bring the kind of mirror this one did. With an unrefined and inconspicuous appearance, I had countless times before hidden items of various sorts in my hat, trousers, and made my way hither and thither between the borders of the neighboring nations. And though, to my delight, my wallet had become increasingly laden with the bounty of monetary rewards, I had routinely changed my alias as a precautionary measure. So much, in fact, that these false names had built up into quite a list over the last few years. I'd been known as Phil the Frivolous, Rooney the Trickster, and even Chris the Coward. However, Mitch had always called me by one name, Toby. This was the identity I'd used for my initial job, and the one I liked above all the others. Hello there, Toby. Come for just the right time. Greeting me with these words, Mitch shuffled silently in his seat behind the counter. The baked confection he had been eating was ever so carefully placed atop his lap to prevent it from falling onto the floor. He smacked both of his powdered sugar-covered hands together with a clap, and a cloud of white particles puffed in the air. The smell of sweet spices and baked apples pervaded the dimly lit shop. We had an item dropped off no more than a few minutes ago, he continued. Turning in his seat, Mitch reached back and snatched up something wrapped in old magazine paper from off the shelf, tossing it to me, knowing full well I wouldn't get any sort of answer I asked anyway. What do we have this time? Laying it on my railway and airship tickets, Mitch ignored my question and said, Make sure to get this the same place as always. In his slow drawl, he added, It'd be in your best interest to keep your involvement to a minimum by leaving the business side of things to me and focus solely on getting the job done, Toby. He leaned back in his chair and let out a deep sigh, the balls of his fingers kneading the bags under his eyes. Then once again, his large hand extended toward the unintended cake resting on his leg. Before the sweet treat could reach his watering mouth, I had already made my way out the door to his tiny shop. As I walked, the waste paper bundle package bounced around inside the folds of my bag. By the feel and the shape and the weight it beat steadily against my side, I concluded that the object of my possession was probably just more swag. It didn't make me nervous not to know what it was that I was carrying, for I had done this type of job many times before. And no matter what kind of trouble I found myself wrapped up in, I always had somehow managed to come out unscathed. In truth, my experience on the job had made me tough, and I'd become well versed in the art of orbal magic. So it was that when I laid eyes on the rough-looking trio at the station, I felt no more knots of unease in the pit of my stomach than it was necessary for someone of my abilities. The platform for the train bound for Liberl was bustle with passengers awaiting its eventual arrival. Seeing that benches were so crammed full of people they could very well be a tin of packed sardines, I resigned myself to standing near the entrance. As I patiently waited for the train to come in, twisting my body in order to move my bag to my other shoulder, I noticed the figures of the two men. Heads bent together and conversing in an inaudible tone, they stood just beyond the ticket gate, right about where the horse's head of the imperial emblem lay embedded in the ground as a grand mosaic of tiles. After a short interim, another man approached and joined the conversation. From my own perspective, this was one ragtag group I most certainly couldn't have gotten passing grade based on looks. All three were extremely well built and sported the same haircut. To put it mildly, they stuck out in a crowd like a bunch of sore thumbs. Making sure to avoid eye contact with them as I glanced in my direction, I slugged my bag to my other shoulder, and ever so calmly reached my hand into my pocket and ran the tips of my fingers across the surface of my orbment. A woman's voice reverberated within the walls of the station, notifying the passengers that the train had arrived. The low rumble of the orbital engine could be felt in the distance. At a few moments, a large vehicle was seen rolling up on the shoulder. I muttered to myself, all's well, but the sound of my voice was drowned out by the din of the massive machine. Brakes screeched, and a flash of black light reflected off the surface of the giant iron beast as it came sliding in across the rails. The immense vibration of the air emanating from the moving locomotive at its epicenter led me to know that the orbital engine had been put into full reverse in order to decelerate and bring the train to a grinding halt. Whilst being shoved to and fro by the waves of impatient travelers flooding out of the waiting area, I swept toward one of the doors of the passenger car. As we passed by the conductor, I caught another glimpse of the ticket gate. The men who were once there were gone, and the one thing that remained was the profile of the horse made of glossy tiles glaring back at me in a shade of deep crimson. The train barreled on, almost flying through the thick of the veil fog, droplets of water splattering against the window glass, extending out like transparent veins and continuing to wriggle back and forth under the pressure of the swiftly passing wind. Placing the temple of my head against the glass, I stared blankly down at the tickets in my hand and rubbed the two of them together between my fingers. I'd be traveling by train to the border city, far south of its imperial cousin, then to reach the Liberl Kingdom I would have to transfer to an airship. Both my tickets were first class, but not the highest end seats available. The passenger car is nearly as full as capacity, but for some particular reason, nobody had seated themselves in the space next to mine. As I mused about the empty seat, it occurred to me that Minch might have purchased the spot ahead of time, leaving it vacant on purpose. There's no doubt in my mind that he was being paid handsomely to make sure this job was done and done well. Will you be traveling to the Liberl Kingdom, sir? Right around this time of my trip, the rails had passed its halfway mark. I was met with this sudden question, sat up with a start, my eyes searching for the one who asked it. There, sitting in the aisle, was a single woman with a radiant complexion beaming down at me. She wore a coat with overlapping buckles secured slightly above her breasts and appeared to be in her mid-30s. Gingerly bending her knees and pointing her finger at the empty seat beside me, she asked, "Do you mind?" With a tilt of her head, she indicated the rear of the passenger car where swirling smoke saturated the air and softly muttered, "The smell from the tobacco smoke is just dreadful." Wordlessly, I nodded and dragged my bag into its place on the floor, moving it by the window on the opposite side of my feet. The woman expressed her thanks and delicately sat herself down in the seat next to mine. For being a perfect stranger, she talked on endlessly, and I appropriately reciprocated the conversation by saying that I was on my way to the Liberl Kingdom on business as an orbment specialist. Her story was that she was on a mission of mercy for the church and an errand to fulfill in the border city. Just so you know, people sometimes refer to me as sister, she went on. Of course, it's just a nickname. She recrossed her black leather boot-clad legs and let out a sort of surprised titter. From the back of her throat as she made mention of this, Sister Carnelia, it was her nickname. Now that's a name drop that we saw at the end of the last game with Kevin. So like she was apparently a well-known Gralsritter. We continued on in this fashion, subjecting ourselves to a variety of idle banter, and as the time drew on, the sun overhead began to dip into its arc, crossing the celestial meridian and descending into the west. Each time the moving train cleared a grove of trees, the entire vehicle, passenger cars and all, was bathed in a warm apricot hue, flooding into the cabins, creating a majestic spectacle. I gaped at the coruscating effect, and in doing so, locked eyes with Sister Carnelia. Right at the moment, the brilliance of the sinking western light seeped into her rich brown irises, causing them to give off an exquisite rubes. I'm not sure what that word is. Rubskint sparkle. The glimpse made me wonder if the origin of her nickname was somehow related to the color of her eyes being linked into the luster of a polished carnelian stone. The train gradually began to decelerate, and Sister Carnelia returned to her original seat in order to collect her bags. As a matter of habit, I checked my bag and ornament and found both the junk paper-covered package and the magical device fastened to my trouser inner pocket by a series of chain stitches, exactly where and how I had left it. A woman's voice came over the intercom system announcing that the train would be arriving on schedule, that the rainy weather was to be expected at our destination. At the conclusion of the announcement, a number of disappointed sighs could be heard coming from along the rows of seats. Raindrops pattered against the windows outside of the looming silhouette. The overcast city came into view. The station's signal lamp emitted an angular light which was scattered with a refracted effect by the falling droplets. Then came a spine-chilling metallic sound, followed by the jolt of orbment engine reversing thrusters as the locomotive at the front of the train lurched to a halt. Over the loudspeaker came another announcement asking passengers to ensure they did not leave their bags behind. And with that, several people stood up and crowded into the aisle. Watching the station worker in uniform as he waved a small flag amidst the falling rain, I picked up my bag and rose to my feet. Crossed paths with Sister Carnelia as I attempted to step into the aisle, but when she tried to step aside to allow me room to pass, she suddenly tripped and fell forward. Grabbing onto my shoulder for support, she picked herself up and, with an embarrassed smile, let me by. I gave her a short bow in line with the general etiquette practices and headed for the exit all ahead of her. Following my lead, Sister Carnelia shuffled along close behind me, so close, in fact, that I felt as if she would step on my heels. Something about it just didn't feel right. Instinctively sliding my right hand into my pocket, I searched for my orbment, but the brass feeling I had grown accustomed to was nowhere to be felt. In an instant, I felt my arm being twisted behind my back by someone or something with incredible strength. The sleek sound of a blade being unsheathed and a warning prick of the tip of the back at my back indicated the seriousness of the situation. "I have what you're looking for, Toby," whispered Sister Carnelia in an almost inaudible tone, her lips barely moving just behind my right ear. "Let's not try anything either, shall we? I'd hate to see your afternoon spoiled any more than it's going to be." And to show that she meant business, Sister Carnelia slightly altered the angle of her grip on my wrist, causing an explosion of agony that sent sparks flashing behind my eyes. Boom, she got him good. Sister Carnelia spoke to me in a tender tone as she sent a wave of immense pain rushing through the hole in my right hand. "I won't have any trouble with you, now will I, Toby?" she asked. Far from eyes just brimming with tears, I nodded my head in consent as the salty streams of water ran down my face. Satisfied with my answer, she loosened her grip and I felt pain vanish as if it had all been some sort of illusion. With a wry smile, she further added, "Don't get me wrong, Toby. I've been sent here to protect you by the goddess herself." This is what she said while instructing me to keep my eyes focused on what lay beyond the window glass. Yet there was something about the way she pronounced the last syllable of my name that really rubbed me the wrong way. Oh, crap. Hang on. Get it back. Go back. I clipped too early. Little by little, the line of passengers slowly began to flow out of the train car, prodded on by Sister Carnelia. Carnelia. I keep saying Carnelia, I'm going to stick with it. I inched forward while keeping my gaze on the platform, through the passenger car window, down the stairs which led to the front ticket gate were the figures of those men from earlier this morning, the three thug-like passengers who had been loitering near the large horse head emblem at the tile of the Imperial Station. A muffled laugh echoed from her throat as she too noticed them. "Well, isn't this a warm reception party you've got going on?" Cocking my head, I quietly pleaded, "Give me back my ornament." Sister Carnelia said nothing. Members of the crew bid us farewell as we stepped through the exit and disembarked the train onto the lead-colored platform below. Angrily, I thought to myself, "Dang it, what's wrong with these fools? Why can't they see what's going on?" I shut my eyes halfway to protect them from the drizzle wiping against my face, and I unhurriedly descended the wet set of stairs, a half pace at a time. Sister Carnelia moved along behind me at precisely the same length of stride. Below, the group of thugs waited expectantly at the bottom of the stairs, waiting for me, no doubt. Contemplating the rate at which I was going, I ultimately believed it was only a matter of time before I would be handed over to the enigmatic group. I caught sight of their soured faces, and the distance between us grew smaller, and I felt the heat of my left hand tightly gripping the bag grow in intensity until my palms began to sweat profusely. Hitting the midway point of the stairs, Sister Carnelia suddenly whispered in my ear, "Keep your eyes on the ground, Toby." I did as I was told and cast my gaze down upon the tips of my boots. Stained into the darkest shade by the rainwater, then right at the moment I let out my breath, I felt a deep sense of pleasure just below my shoulder blades as I was forcefully shoved forward. Droplets flew from my saturated fingers and my world turned upside down as I tumbled down the stairs and slammed back first into the gutter group of hoodlums. With a muffled crunch, I felt the painful sensation of my ribs crumple under the weight of my body and then return to normal from their severely compressed state. Two of the seemingly military men who were hit as I toppled down the stairs, like an avalanche unleashed on a pair of young saplings, absorbed the transfer force and were thrown into a large puddle collected on the ground nearby. Shrieks erupted from the startled passengers nearby, more shrill and high-pitched sound than the railway brakes in the decelerating locomotive. As my world spun wildly around me, I lay there, the chill of the tiles seeping into my back. With a concerted effort, I rolled my eyes to the left, where my arm remained in an outstretched state. By some act of the goddess, I managed to keep my tight 5-fingered grip on the bag I'd been carrying. In an effort to get up, I slid into a prostrate position, keeping my chin in contact with the ground, making a low visual sweep of the vicinity as my life depended on it. I noticed the military-like physiques of the men had vanished from view. The only figure I saw standing above me now on the platform was that of Sister Carnelia. And on her shoulder, as if she were merely hefting a sack of grain, was one of the men. Fetch me! Turning in the direction where the train had sat motionless state, she lobbed the unfortunate man down into some set of empty rail tracks below. By the time I had risen to one knee, whilst keeping the other platform planted firmly on the ground in a half-standing position, the world in front of me was still swaying and undulating in my wavering eyesight. My head slowly rocked back and forth with its double vision of Sister Carnelia's boots approached me. Then, with a strong grip, she tugged at my hand. For some strange reason or another, when she did this, I failed to notice the unpleasant feeling that her hand wrapped tightly around mine brought. "Let's go, Toby," she instructed in an authoritative tone. Nearly dragging me, she pulled me to my feet, and before long, we were hightailing it out of there. The onlookers made quite a commotion as they moved hastily out of our way in a determined attempt not to be caught up in the middle of our flight path. The bag in my left hand swung helplessly, knocking against my thigh. After clearing the ticket gate, Sister Carnelia finally let go of my hand, but the sickening, slippery sensation came with it. Looking over at her, I realized that the stomach-churning, slimy feeling on her hand had come from a bright red blood, which had stained both of hers. I peered back over my shoulder in the direction of the platform as I continued to run, but the figures of those 3 men who had been waiting for me at the station were nowhere to be found. Right, I think that was the first book I actually picked up in the last game. I sat staring at a partially melted lump of butter on the stack of cold pancakes. Picking up a fork, I poked at them, and after turning the top one over, I daubed the milky yellow substance between the rubbery layers. In doing so, my interest in what was sat atop my plate faded to nil. A hanging lamp dangled overhead, making a sporadic buzzing sound in its honey-colored light flickering, creating jittery shadows and distorting my vision within the inn. The pouring rain outside didn't appear as if it would let up anytime soon, either. Bringing my face closer to the window, I peered through the film of water flowing down outside of the glass as I tried to make out the dimly lit avenue. Although the station house sat right at the end of the road from where we were lodged, all that was visible from the side of the structure obscured by the shadow which prevented me from being able to see the platform. "There's nothing to be worried about," said Sister Carnelia. She returned, wiping her hands with a handkerchief as white as the newly driven snow. Stretching the square strip of cloth out, she sat down and placed it neatly in her lap like a napkin. Then in a reassuring tone, she added, "We've seen the last of them for a while." Watching the tips of her fingers move as she smoothed out the wrinkles of the piece of fabric resting on her legs, I was hit with a sudden flashback, reviving an awful sight and coppery scent of the sticky blood which had covered those hands not a mere few hours before. "How can you be so certain?" I asked, still having more than a few reservations. "Because that's how these types of crime syndicates work," she replied, clearly seeming to know all the answers. The waiter came by and set a plate in front of Sister Carnelia with a soft clink as the brass of the glassy dish tapped lightly against the hard surface of the table. After scooting the meat-laden porcelain plate closer to her, she licked off the sauce covering the tips of her fingers in an almost sensual way. Sickened by the bloody image already in my mind, and now the sauce, I tossed my fork aside and leaned heavily back in my chair. The city outside began to fade into the streets of gray, and by the time Sister Carnelia was finished tucking away her steak, she had completely sunk into the darkness of night. I questioned her again. "How can you be so certain that no one will come after us?" Using a piece of black crusted bread to wipe up the last drops of sauce, she answered, "Because that's how they function. One unit consists of 3 people." Then, as if remembering something else important, she added, "That group was after you. They're a Jaeger Corps." That's what they were. The mercenaries are Jaegers. Upon hearing this, I recalled seeing some of those men at the landing port some time ago. Only the most renowned and skilled mercenary groups have the honor of calling themselves a Jaeger Corps, or at least that's what Mitch had told me about them. They were soldiers of fortune who were said to be relentlessly follow the flow of mirror wherever that happened to lead, and they would stop at nothing to get it, even if it meant spilling blood. "Warhawks, mercenaries without borders, and a group never to get involved with," is what Mitch had often said about the habit of saying about them. Instinctively, I slid my foot forward and checked the location of my bag with the tip of it. "It's quite simple, really," Sister Carnelia explained as she reached for her dessert. "You, Toby, are carrying something that apparently got a lot of people on edge, and someone's hired a Jaeger Corps to take you out." "But it's not me they're after, it's what I'm carrying." "It's all the same," she retorted as she gulped down a cup of tea in a single breath. "They're going to kill the courier before they even think about searching for the contents in his bag. A butcher kills a cow before someone grills the steak, not the other way around." Lecturing me all the while, Sister Carnelia took a glossy tallow hand knife in hand and sliced into her apple pie. The powdered sugar sprinkled on the flaky crust danced under the golden light. I felt a stabbing pain of guilt racing through me just above my gut. Unexpectedly, I began to think about what Mitch could be doing at the moment, but my short period of rumination was cut short when I saw Sister Carnelia's hand stop cold. Glaring into the darkness, eyes focused and intent like a hunting dog, she tossed something shiny onto the table and eventually rose to her feet. There it was, my orbment. Where are you going? Without pausing to answer my question, Sister Carnelia expeditiously fastened the buckle of her coat. You've got good taste, Toby. One of the times she set her heel in the chair and tightened her bootlaces. Using the full capacity of that orbment is no small feat. I think even most bracers would be in for a real surprise if push came to shove with you in the ring. Growing even more impatient, I asked her, so where is exactly that you're going? That's none of your concern, she said. She came to answer. Suffice it to say, I will be seeing you again on the morrow. And with that, Sister Carnelia disappeared through the door of the woman's restroom. As if exchanging places, 2 other men entered the restaurant. They walked directly to the table at which I sat and stood before me. Flashing the emblem on his chest without making any sort of eye contact, one of the men said, We're with the Bracers Guild. Apologize for disturbing you in the middle of your evening meal, but you need to come with us. Interesting. So is that who she saw, or is it somebody else? Oh, that was already dead. We're almost done. Hold on. My orbment, empty, bagged, and packaged wrapped in Nord magazine paper, were laid out neatly on the table in front of me. The bracer sitting opposite me gazed alternatively at my face and at the items at the table, as if trying to gauge my reaction to them. Constantly rubbing his chin between his fingers, it appeared to me he thought we were making an effort to display his right hand, snugly fit with a leather gauntlet. I had been led onto the second floor of the lodge by the 2 men, and then after they had painstakingly checked the layout of the floor, I was taken to the furthermost room for the stairs. It occurred to me that the reason for the use of the makeshift space was due to there being no guild branch nearby. The first man to sit in front of me was the lanky one. He told me his name, but I soon forgot which one was Clayton and which one was Pavel. About the time I had finished being frisked, the bracer wearing the gauntlets, Clayton or Pavel, whoever it was, returned it to me, whispering something to his partner's ear. It seemed as though they were trying to locate Sister Carnelia, but having no luck. After much probing on the subject of her and the Jaeger Corps, and after relating everything I'd heard from her on the train, I turned the conversation around and, playing the role of the victim, inquired into her past history. Though strictly speaking, I guess I was in fact a victim. Her name is Selnat, Ein Selnat. Said aloud the lanky bracer with the pocketbook he held just below his eye level. Originally a constituent member of the Jaeger Corps, her present affiliation and activities are unknown. In short, added his partner pompously, she's not the type of person any upstanding citizen should be getting involved with. He reached out his gauntlet-cladded hand and picked up the object bundle and scrap paper. Checking my reaction all the while, he unwrapped the paper, laying out flat on the center of the table. Its contents turned out to be a lump of metal, ingrained with a sort of clay-like substance. I blurted out, I was on my way to the research institute with an item with everything happened, and then threw out the address of some non-existent client for good measure. The bracers took notes, making sure not to leave out any of the details of my conversation. Then, to dispel any lingering suspicion, I agreed to stay with them under their watchful eyes for the night. The next day, I also found myself inclined to go along with them to the nearest guild branch in order to file a report about the events that happened back at the station. But I had no qualms over the matter. My greatest concern at the moment, after all, was not running into any more trouble. I awoke as the sun came up over the horizon and day broke. With the advent of the peaceful morning, I sat up in bed and breathed a sigh of relief. The bracers who had stood guard the previous night were no longer present in the room, but the sound of their voices could be heard echoing out in the hallway beyond the closed door. Slipping my arms through my sleeves of my jacket, I felt a sharp pain in my right elbow, which brought me back vivid memories of a woman from the day before. Suddenly, a feeling of unease came over me, and I, still half undressed, began adjusting my orbment. After opening its back cover, I used a thin piece of tanned doe skin and started plucking out the quartz installed in each slot. It didn't take but 5 minutes to insert them each into a different slot and rearrange their configuration. With a set of light magic as my base, one by one, I replaced each screw until finally a metallic panel was back in place. And as the feeling of calmness set in, I rolled back over in bed. So that's him switching up what spells he has access to. That's kind of fun. It was at that time a tall woman appearing to be a maid opened the door carrying a basin of hot water from the sink, with which guests could shave and wash their faces. After placing a small steaming tub on the table, the woman went quietly about her daily task of removing the bed linen. Finding myself shooed from my own bed, I reluctantly headed toward the basin, with just beyond the open door, I caught sight of 2 shadows cutting across the hall in succession. They're here, I heard myself mutter in a low tone as a suppressed voice reached my ears. With only a bar of soap in hand, I remained unbearably calm as I quickly shut and bolted the door. Then, pondering my next move, I stood still with my back pressed up against the wall. On the other side of the hardened clay wall, a brief clamor of fighting ensued. Fumbling with a chain attached to my hip pocket, I grabbed hold of my ornament and adjusted just barely moments before. It was 2 bracers versus the 2 others I'd seen moments ago. Throwing myself into the mix with the 2 men from the guild would definitely put us at a high advantage in numbers from standpoint. However, when I turned again to face the door, the voice of self-doubt came percolating through my closed lips in the form of a distant mutter. There were only 2 of them, I muttered to myself. If Sister Carnelia's words were to be believed, then one unit consisted of 3 people, not 2. Again, I questioned myself inwardly. Then where's the 3rd? There, as the back of my neck stood on end as I realized my plight. Something swung down over the top of my head, catching me around the neck, and the next instant I was flung to the ground. From the corner of my blurred and spotty vision came the inexplicable view of a woman with demonic bloodshot eyes just standing over me, trying to wrench the very life out of me with every twist of the sheet she had wrapped tightly around my throat. Clutching my ornament in hand, I activated and fired off a burst of magic while laying half asphyxiated on the wooden planks of the room floor. The destructive vortex of compressed air sliced deeply into my hip, but at the same time caused the woman to double over before forcibly blowing her to another part of the room. Shreds of whirling linen flecked and sprayed with fresh blood blasting out of the gaping hole in the wall where a closed window once stood, leaving nothing behind but shards of broken glass and a frame rent beyond all repair. Yeah, I definitely didn't get to the end of this one, so I'm glad we're reading it. Oh, fetch. I didn't realize it was more. Okay. Good grief, we're here for a while. Wheezing, I breathed in the sound of high whistling as the air fought to make it through the constricted windpipe. Still clutching tightly to my ornament, I unwound the sheet from my throat. Utterly exhausted, I tilted my head to its side and watched with reddened eyes as the small stream of saliva dribbled over the edge of my mouth and pooled onto the floor. When the fresh air finally made its way into my lungs, it initially choked me nearly as badly as the sheet had. A thump from somewhere behind me startled me from my fit. The Jaeger demoness, like a spring-loaded doll, leaped up from the floor of the room. A single shot of magic had previously landed in her gut should have done the trick, but the fluid way she moved made it appear as if she was unfazed by the blast. Within arm's reach of where I had subconsciously curled myself came the splintering sound of unseasoned wood being hewn down by a giant woodcutter's axe. In the following instant, Sister Carnelia came flying through the newly opened hole in the timber door, her entry punctuated by a cloud of splinters. Her arms as pallid as whips, she passed by the female Jaeger in the lightning-quick motion and with a turning assault, clocked her opponent with a full tilt in the face. The woman spun with the force of the blow and fell with a tumultuous thud, her head cracking hard against the floor. Like a prima ballerina, Sister Carnelia raised her knee high until she had tucked it securely up against her sternum. She stared down at the outstretched figure on the floor, muscles flexed and without an ounce of mercy. Sister Carnelia let her judgment fall with the heel of her boot, stomping down and crushing the wretched woman's throat. As I witnessed the grotesque and unsightly scene, Sister Carnelia gave a quick glance in my direction and beckoned me on. Then with a nimble hop into the unknown before her, she cleared the broken window frame and lighted upon the ground below. Quickly scraping my belongings together, I made after her in the same manner as she'd left. Out the window with a 2-story drop to the cobblestone side road below. Waiting close by, helping to break my less than elegant fall, Sister Carnelia led me on as we took flight among the avenue, brightly lit by morning sun. A deafening blare from orbital engines whistled indicated that the first train was about to depart. Sister Carnelia immediately pulled the ticket from out of her coat pocket and held it out in front of me to the side. Reaching for a fluttering strip of paper between her fingers, I realized I was still carrying the bar of soap from before, so I chucked it, not caring where it landed or who it might hit. Aboard the train, the smoggy haze from the incessant smoking of the nattering gentleman had permeated into every nook and cranny of the passenger car. There was also a smell of newly printed publications, the occasional sound of someone clearing their throat. I felt rather awkward to have boarded a train bound for the Imperial City with my bag still in hand. "Do you know what your problem is, Toby?" Sister Carnelia remarked. "You're just like that ornament of yours." Using her white handkerchief, she staunched the flow of blood from my leg, which had been lacerated by spinning arrow blades of the magic. "Once you get yourself into trouble, you keep digging yourself in deeper until someone comes along with a billy club and whacks some good sense into you." Placing a folded magazine in my lap, she tapped on it with a nail at the tip of her index finger, indicating that I should read what was inside. It was a copy of the Imperial Chronicle, which had been published just that morning. A several-lined article, buried pages behind more titillating news, told of a suspicious death of one horrible factory owner somewhere within the capital. This is the first time I'd ever been aware of Mitch's real age. Sister Carnelia continued her lecture as she mercilessly upbraided me for my reckless behavior. "You missed being caught up in all this by a hair's breadth," she informed me coolly. At a loss for words over the shock of Mitch's death, I put the magazine away in my trench coat pocket. Another 5 minutes in that shop and you would have been gone to meet your maker, too. I shook my head and with trembling lips let my thoughts fumble out of my mouth. I just don't get it. Why did Mitch have to die? The image of Mitch's cold body behind the counter alternated in my mind with that of a lump of metal wrapped in scrap paper. Just what the hell have I been carrying all this time, and why did anyone have to die over it? I pondered at length. Sister Carnelia met my eyes and held them. Because it's an artifact, she said simply. An artifact? I scoffed as I blew her off her answer. It's not like I haven't carried a bunch of them before. Artifacts, in short, were the remains of legacies of ancient civilizations and the generic term for an unidentifiable mechanism for which resembled an ornament. I had spent my days as a courier smuggling any number of those items under false pretenses that the goods we're carrying were nothing more than rare antiques, and readily placed among the hands of those aristocrats amongst whom they were especially in vogue. As for the most part, my current possession appeared as though it belonged to the same group as the others. Personally, I could find no other value in collecting these artifacts besides indulging of oneself in a decadent hobby. Chiding me as if I were a clueless child, Sister Carnelia rebuked. You're wrong, Toby. This one's much different than the others. After a moment's pause, she added, It's alive. Unable to grasp what she had meant, I looked at her with a questioning expression on my face. Sister Carnelia tried again. What I'm trying to tell you is that it still works, although I'm not really sure what kind of power it actually has. It was unearthed during an excavation within the Empire's territory about 30 years ago. Sister Carnelia's subsequent story about the peculiar lump of metal told about its dark history surrounding a group of aristocrats who relentlessly sought after it. The artifact itself had transitioned from hand to hand by those in power, and one after another, they were murdered while slumbering in their bedchambers. Then at the end of the 100 Days' War, its whereabouts were said to have been lost. And strangely enough, it finally turned up in the capital after all this time, she said, finishing up the account. An announcement chimed the passenger car notifying those riding the scheduled time of arrival. Sister Carnelia uncrossed and recrossed her long legs. The one who's after this artifact hired the Jaeger Corps to bring it to them, whatever the cost. So as a result, I was dispatched by the church in order to protect both you and it from falling into their hands. I sat staring down at the bags resting next to my feet as we approached our destination. The moving train quietly began to lose speed. Okay, breathe. In the bowels of the Imperial City. Moving purposely through the crowd, we made our way between the rows of seats. Each time the swinging bag in hand struck the side of my knee, I became keenly aware of its presence. It was an unnerving feeling, like I had unintentionally brushed up against someone in an offensive way. Furthermore, it was nearly inconceivable. My mind was an ancient relic which the Jaeger Corps was pursuing with such frenzy, was sitting right here in my stitched cloth of this cheap handbag. What a fool Mitch had been. Hadn't he known the burden of this object would bring far more weighty than the both of us could have ever hoped to bear? I squeezed my eyes shut against the thoughts flying around in my mind and addressed Sister Carnelia, who followed closely behind me. Will we be making a break for the cathedral once we get off? Yes, that was the plan, she answered, scanning the scene outside the window of the passenger car. I think that it's the only option we've got if you want to make it through this day alive. The station which the train was set to arrive was unremittingly crowded with countless droves of passengers. As usual, the sky is slightly overcast. Everyone outside the platform stood shivering in silence with their collars drawn up to their ears, huddling close to one another for warmth like a flock of waterfowl on the tides of midwinter. Don't worry, I won't be tossing you down a flight of stairs this time, Toby, jested Sister Carnelia. Although if there were 2 more of you at my disposal, I might have decided otherwise, she added. Evidently, the number of our welcome party this time had been set to dramatically increase. The odds don't appear to be on our favor, she said in a low voice, her warm breath tickling the lobe of my ear. We won't be able to leave through the ticket gate. As soon as we stepped off the train, we stealthily moved to the opposite end of the platform, and after sneaking out of the large door for only authorized station personnel, we jumped down into the path of railroad ties and steel rails below. The biting cold of wind of the capital swept fiercely across the unobstructed railroad tracks, causing me to shudder as it ruffled our coats with its chilly touch. Slipping between the couplers of a pair of freight cars, we moved cautiously along the edge, sticking close to the shadows. Over on the cargo platform, workers were busy unloading containers. For someone who had his mind set on becoming a dealer of pilfered goods, gaining illicit entry into the station houses would have been one of his first of all basics. Showing my ticket, I spoke politely to one of the workers, then with a scenario picked out of my head, I told him that I had played the part of a manager here in business with a celebrity of notable repute. Midway through our conversation, I introduced Sister Carnelia, who did her best to show the man a glamorous smile and feminine pose. I had possibly gone a bit overboard when I stated that she was an opera singer, but because the way she carried herself made her look more akin to a low-wage sell song in the bar of drunkards. Yet, in spite of it all, the worker graciously let us through. You're so good, it's almost scary, Toby. Sister Carnelia said as we raced through the station's warehouse sector. You should seriously consider doing another job, she went on. I bet you're going to tell me to join the Bracer Guild, right? Come on, those guys would turn me down in a heartbeat, I said as I laughed at the thought. Then, throwing the idea back in her court, I asked, so how about yourself? Why didn't you join the Bracers Guild? Reaching the end of the warehouse sector, we came to a stop in front of a large chain-link fence. Sister Carnelia crouched down and while sliding a drainage cover to the side, laughed at my previous question as if it was insane. Are you kidding? She asked. They'd gun me down the second I set foot on their branches. The winding, narrow stone tunnels like the one we were in ran everywhere beneath the Capitol. We crawled along as the light shining down through the drainage grates on the side of the large road above us illuminated the way like a trail of flickering orb lampposts. The feet of those walking across the avenue passed right by where we were, but not a single person noticed us, scraping our way along below them. And for some strange reason or another, the world just beyond the thin flagstone paved road appeared so dazzling in my eyes. Yet the Jaeger Corps, loss of the artifact in hand, and senseless sudden death, all of which had never crossed my mind before, lay in wait for me, dared I venture into the open world above. As we pressed on, I began to think that the small round tunnel which we were crawling through would run on forever, when finally it emerged with the high-ceilinged sewer surrounded by walls and countless blocks of chiseled stone. We'll go through here and make our way over to where the cathedral is located, Sister Carnelia insisted. Resting one brow, she pointed her finger upward. It's a lot safer down here than it is up there. That's fine and all, but what are we going to do if we get attacked? Sister Carnelia grabbed my hand. With that, stepped into the muddy darkness beyond. Don't worry, Toby, she assured me. Faith isn't the only thing supporting the church. Alright. The flicker of dying orbital lamps mounted equidistant lengths along the sewer walls set the thin streaks of light across the surface of the rippling flow of filthy sewage. I'm sure it smelled lovely. Passing in front of these one by one, Sister Carnelia sped down the stone sidewalk at the sound of her boldly cutting through the racing tunnel winds tailored out behind her. Panting out and out of breath, I continued to move my feet toward the darkness which lay before me as I chased after Sister Carnelia's flicking shadow. Wayworn yet without a moment of repose, we headed unrelentingly with our sights set on the cathedral of the Septian Church. We moved swiftly across the moss-covered stone pavement, clacking our heels echoing dimly up underground. Above ground, the walking distance on the city roads from the railway station to the cathedral was about 3 blocks. We made our way up through the drainage ditch just beyond the sluice gate. We'd find ourselves in the public square outside the massive sanctuary. Up ahead, the light of another orbital lamp came into view. Turning my head in the direction, and without a word, Sister Carnelia extended her right hand outward in a wide motion, indicating that we would be turning that way at the next corner. Then, as if preparing for something, she rolled both her shoulders into a grinding motion and relieved the last of her tension with a pop of the neck. It seemed to me as though she knew all too well what was lurking within the tenebrous conduit ahead. Under the unsteady and sporadic coruscation of light, the body of Sister Carnelia surged around the corner and disappeared from view. 1, 2, 3 went the walloping echoes, followed by the sound of something being rolled into the channel of filthy sludge. As I turned the corner, the first thing which leapt into my sight were the contorted figures of 2 men on the ground whom I barely missed treading on. Sister Carnelia, who was by this time several steps ahead, continued to run at her usual pace, as if nothing had happened during the preceding seconds. "It's Carnelia!" came an angry but noticeably wavering voice from behind. I glanced to my rear to locate its source, and there I found a man who had dragged himself from the fecal-filled liquid, now laying next to his dead comrades, yelling with his dying breath as blood leaked out of his open mouth. "Carnelia! She's down here!" he managed to croak before falling silent and still. Sister Carnelia paid no attention nor made any effort to look back. I turned my face forward and followed her example. The walls of the conduit leading directly to the sluice gate squared out into an ominous mouth of darkness. Seemingly waiting for its next unsuspecting meal, Sister Carnelia gradually slowed her pace and matched mine as I had by the time become completely exhausted and out of breath. "Looks like these guys are dead serious about getting their hands on the item this time," she said with a focused look, as she focused her eyes on the darkness before us. "So, were those old friends of yours or something?" I inquired. Sister Carnelia turned to face me with her dark and scarlet eyes. "Is that what you heard from those bracers the other day?" she asked. I nodded my head and questioned her no further. With head slightly turned down, I forced myself onward, her eyes fixed on the tips of my boots. Unexpectedly, Sister Carnelia opened her mouth and said, "Do you remember that woman you had a run-in with back at the inn?" I nodded slightly. "The whole reason I gave up my life as a mercenary is because I didn't want to meet a tragic end like that," she continued. "A life of no meaning, forgotten by all." I looked up at Sister Carnelia, and seeing a slight show of emotion on the side of her face, heard her repeat the same line of words a few times more before finishing her thought. If I'm going to cash in my life's chips, then I think I'd best that I fight for something worth fighting for. At least that way I'll be able to leave a legacy of my existence behind. Taking in her words, I ran steadily beside her as I felt a sense of nondescript apprehension slowly begin to creep over me. During the short intervals between breaths, it suddenly seemed as if I were hearing the faint sound of sloshing water from behind, which caused me to prick up my ears and turn my head in its direction. So you noticed it too, huh, Toby? Sister Carnelia slowed her step until finally coming to a complete stop. They blockaded us from behind, so there's no turning back now, she said. The direness of our situation heaved in her voice. We arrived at an intersection where the conduit we were in and another crossed paths, and just beyond it, wide fetid flow of sewage, water before us. I could see the dimly lit sluice gate. I pushed my back against the damp brick of the nearest wall for a moment, tried to catch my breath. They're probably lying in wait for us, Sister Carnelia assessed solidly after glaring across the flowing sewage of the merging channels, and then turned her head to the rear, narrowing her eyes again. And unfortunately, this time we won't be able to circumvent them. With a sound of composure revealing her utmost resolve, Sister Carnelia took a few deep breaths. I laid a hand on my ornament, gripping it in the palm of my sweaty hand, and then wrapped a strap on my back securely around my opposite wrist. As always, Sister Carnelia checked her boots before standing upright. Then, taking a few steps back and holding my breath, I raced or darted into the Stygian flow of waste. Sister Carnelia made such haste that she aimed for the path the opposite side of the sludge-filled channel that I could have sworn she was actually running on the liquid surface. Based on my observation, the minuscule spatters of feet produced, and of course, she passed by me in the blink of an eye, the space growing wider and wider between us as I continued to trudge my way through the filthy muck. Flashes of magic erupted from the darkness by the sluice gate and ripped through the air in rapid succession, but none of them could overtake the speed at which Sister Carnelia moved. In an unyielding offensive by the shadow aggressors, the settled feculence in the depths of the chamber was thrown up in the form of a powerful tsunami, and in the instant before clearing myself from its destructive path, I feared that the terrible wall of sediment filth would crush me under its weight and bring me to an unsightly end. With a mid-air spin to avoid the last of the oncoming magic, Sister Carnelia flew into the opposite side of the channel with inexplicable speed. Hurdling the wall of piled-up sandbags beyond which the attackers took cover, she whirled her arms in a ferocious onslaught. One by one, like a row of pins being struck by a weighted object, the line of standing Jaegers crumbled to the ground. Sister Carnelia's attacks were like a whirlwind of death, blowing at the speed at which they struck. They came in advancing inconceivable angles, puncturing throats, slashing open arteries, and then they were gone. So it was that when I finally reached the cobbled path beyond the stagnant channel, not a soul was left standing beside Sister Carnelia and myself. The cathedral's at the end of the ladder, just beyond this gate, she indicated as she flicked dripping blood from her fingers like a wet child who forgot a handkerchief to dry her wet hands. Her eyes shone with the afterglow of battle. The Jaegers can't be far behind, so we'd better hurry, she warned, as if to punctuate her warning. The damp sound of numerous feet kicking up water as they advanced toward our present location had now become clearly audible to my ears. Stepping over a handful of Jaeger corpses lying scattered about and behind the wall of sandbags, we made our way to 4 dry bed channels which lay ahead of us. I placed my hands on the slightly damp stone floor in the empty channel and crawled through the half-open door of the sluice gate. A falling water droplet struck the nape of my neck as I passed through the cramped opening, causing me to stop dead in my tracks. In the moment that followed, I recognized the sound of an ornament overhead on the verge of discharging a burst of magic. "Toby!" came the ostensible voice of Sister Carnelia as my vision was instantly flooded with a wave of exceeding brightness. Then, in the midst of the world of blinding light, came the hand of a savior, which grabbed me firmly by the shoulder. The powerful feeling of being dragged and the explosion produced by magic rupturing the stone was almost simultaneous. As the booming roar swept across the whole of my body, I was thrown backward toward the ground. Despite my cloud of vision, I managed to somersault before landing in the prone position. Choking on the filthy puddle I had fallen face down in, I lifted my head in time to see a cloud of blackened dust being heaved from the mouth of the hallway raised sluice gate door. And as if my worst nightmare had now become reality, I watched as one after another the blocking Jaegers emerged from the smoky cloud, each bearing a glinting blade. I floundered about in the slippery mud and watched as their ranks sprang into action, closing in, their rugged facial features now visible to my eyes. Instantly rolling to the side, I unsheathed my hidden blade as it attempted to deflect a wide arcing slash of another with my bag. The cloth of the bag over which the sharp edge ran split open without a sound, and the paper-wrapped ornament fell to the cobbled floor. Frantically, I searched for the ornament at my side, but was unable to get a grip on it because of my clumsy, panic-stricken state. One of the mercenary men, his eyes intent on my throat, drew back his long sword to end my life. But before he could make his move, a dark silhouette appeared from behind him. It was Sister Carnelia. Her hands, moving with such finesse, disarmed the man in an instant, left only his sword behind before he was launched into view from the hanging shadows veiling the dark conduit. As the sound of the falling sword struck the ground with a high-pitched clink, Sister Carnelia dropped to her knees. Her soft whispering words were full of regret. "I'm sorry, Toby." With her head bowed forward, I watched in disbelief as several streaks of blood began to run down the side of her face. "Looks like the goddess may be calling you home too," she said gently. Once again, Sister Carnelia rose to her feet, her coat hanging in tatters. Eyeing her outer garment's ragged state, I knew for certain that it had been caused by a previous blast of magic. In order to protect me from harm, Sister Carnelia had willingly used her body as a shield to absorb the brunt of the force, and now, stain of eviscerating crimson blood had begun seeping through the cloth covering her breasts. I swept up the artifact, which had tumbled to the ground from the hole in my severed bag, and tore away the wet paper, which covered the surface. Then, with a cold lump of metal in hand, I placed it atop my ornament as I gripped them both tightly together. The sound of the footfall from the Jaeger Corps had now subsided. They stood in a cluster with their swords drawn, effectively blocking any possible escape through the sluice gate. Sister Carnelia let out a shrill cry, and I, as if taking on the sound to be a command to attack, unleashed the energy pent up within my ornament. The device roared, and the instant the magic was discharged, I felt an intense wave of searing heat graze over my cheeks as the entire body was slammed. It was immediately blown backward by its powerful force. Stunned, I collapsed onto the floor. When I finally opened my eyes, I could see Sister Carnelia standing above me with her back turned to face me. Her right arm had lost all strength and function and hung limply at her side. Dazedly, she slid to her knees and slumped onto the ground before me. I pulled Sister Carnelia close to myself and hugged her tightly, blasting the pack of assailing mercenaries with an instantaneous wave of magic. But it was all over, my last stand ending as soon as it begun. Countless razor-sharp sword tips streaked down at us from all sides. Convinced I had finally reached my life's terminus, I raised my right hand and, whilst placing a false hope in my ornament that I could somehow protect us, I activated it, the last of its energy being consumed as it was drained to empty. Whirling arrow blades spun around us as I closed my eyes and accepted my fate, and behind my darkened eyelids an endless realm of whiteness began to spread out before me. And finally, the end. I was swallowed by the light for only to be spewed moments later upon a patch of hardened ground. The air was filled with the scent of sun-baked earth, yet for being the stone floor some grandiose, heavenly estate inherited by those in the afterlife. I felt quite like the flagstones I'd grown accustomed to in my past life. Upon feeling around in my immediate surroundings, my searching hand found the soft locks of disheveled hair. It seemed as though Sister Carnelia had come as well as I to meet our creator firsthand. Gradually, as I lay there, I felt something warm swell within the pit of my stomach. Weary, I just let the feeling spread over me. It was just about this time that the sound of murmurous voices started to fill the air around us. Warm breath tickled across my nose and brow, letting me know that I was being stared at directly in the face. As my eyes adjusted to the intensity of the light, I realized that I was looking into the face of a young girl who beamed back at me brightly with the widest of smiles. However, she seemed a bit young to hold the esteemed position of the goddess. The keel of a bell overhead rang out loud and clear. Strangely, it sounded exactly like the cathedral's distinctive tone. Taking in this series of events to be rather odd, I picked myself up, and at last awakened from the dream which had temporarily invaded my senses. There it was, the familiar cityscape, the sounds, even the scent and the breeze. I knew the place by heart. It was the public square of the Imperial City, which unfolded before the great cathedral of the Septian Church. I opened the fingers of my right hand to stare down at the metallic lump in its palm, entrusted to me by Midge. The gold filaments of light swirled across the surface of the artifact. I instantly recalled Sister Carnelia's words. "It's alive," she had said. As I watched the ancient light gradually fade away before closing my hand around its surface once more, I believed it. Supporting each other by wrapping our arms around one another's shoulders, Sister Carnelia and I hobbled and limped our way toward the magnificent cathedral, and the awe-inspiring figure of the goddess, Adios, stood there silently with unfurled wings, watching over us from the deep-hued stained glass window above. As for the events which followed, they were settled in an orderly fashion. The metallic lump which Sister Carnelia had so daringly risked her life for was turned over to His Eminence, the Cardinal, who presided over the cathedral. He disappeared with it through the thick open door of the sacred vault. The level of corruption which had spread like a plague amongst the members of the Imperial Court, influencers, and aristocrats, even commissioned officers in the Imperial Army, astonished even those mediators acting on behalf of the Bracers Guild. I stayed close by Sister Carnelia as she was laid out on a pew within the chapel of the cathedral. The real sisters of the church delicately pulled off her coat, cut open her vest, and now stuck her body with dried blood. Upon doing so, they found an ornate shirt of chain mail just beneath a layer of her clothing, which for some strange reason seemed to bewilder them all. The next day, a certain aristocrat who had hired a Jaeger Corps to carry out his Shelf's bidding agreed to relinquish the artifacts in his possession in return for keeping his estate. Hence, his collection of forbidden antiques were brought under the safekeeping of the Septian Church. Sworn to secrecy, I made immediate arrangements to take leave for the Culvered Republic. My destination, a high-class resort, which had turned out to be an excellent way to recover physically and mentally, as well as to forget about a series of events which had occurred over the past few days. Naturally, the bracers assigned to prove my escort were none other than Clayton and Pavel, who, before we left, guided me without a word to where Sister Carnelia was resting. I talked with Sister Carnelia, who had awoken from a short interval, but as I got up to leave, she reached out her dainty hand and said to me, "Before you go, I want to tell you my real name. It's Ein Selnat." I took her unblemished hand in mine and gripped it firmly, as I expressed my appreciation for what she'd done. And today, now 3 years later, I stood staring at her name once again, but this time, printed on the page of Imperial Chronicle. Ein Selnat. Below those printed characters ran a few lines of unembellished article. Yesterday, a corpse was discovered in an urban area of the capital just before dawn. The body was found to be covered with multiple stab wounds. The departed, in life, had been involved in charitable work and brought salvation to many affiliated souls in various regions throughout the land. As I read the last line, I envisioned the deceased figure of Sister Carnelia lying motionless upon the darkened street. Yet despite the blood-stained face I envisioned in my mind, I saw her as she rested in peace, a gentle smile crossing her face, vindicated of any transgression in life. As I rolled a copy of the magazine in hand, I brushed my hand lightly across the shining bracer emblem pinned in my chest. Almost 2 years had passed since I converted my newly line of work, which Sister Carnelia had so graciously recommended to me. And finally, I had even become used to using my real name. Toby, came the whisper of Sister Carnelia as it resurrected in my ears. Now only known as Toby, I pressed my forehead up against the cold, clouded window of the passenger car. The refulgent eyes of Sister Carnelia shining brightly like a carnelian stone, forever ingrained in my memory. In my mind's eye, I watched as her coat sleeves trailed out behind her as she dashed away in the darkness of my memories. Opening my eyes, I gazed out through the window glass, and there, I saw the bleeding road-covered illumination of the Imperial City as it faded away beneath the heavy white fog. The end. Now, I was thinking, like, through that whole thing, that what if this was like, what if it was Kevin's story? I could see Kevin being recruited by such a way, like being a rascal before and then kind of being brought in, kind of like Sister Carnelia was. But nope, that was a bracer named Toby. Did we ever meet a bracer named Toby? I feel like we did. So maybe it's a direct reference to him. Anyway, thank you so much for coming back. I hope you don't mind that we took all that time. Let's get pressing on. We gotta go and make a theft. Oh, please excuse me. I assume you must be an invited guest. The party being held at the room at the end of the corridor if you're having difficulties finding the way. Thank you, miss. Alright, thank you, miss. I did a higher pitch for him. EP charge. Oh. Message. Remember, there's but one truth. Love is eternal. Aw, oddly sweet. For a chest, mimic. Are you taking a walk around the ship, sir? If so, I might suggest following the stairs ahead and stepping out into the main deck. I find gazing at the stars while enjoying the night breeze especially relaxing a way to pass the time. Oh, they got gambling. Are you an invited guest perchance? If you are, would you be happy to treat you to an official membership of this club? So please do enjoy yourself and make use of the facilities on offer. You play another well yourself. Well, you started the game, I'm up. Okay, so it's not actually letting me bet. Come on, black! It's gotta be black this time. It's been five times in a row. The next one has to be black, surely. Oh, that's the gambler's folly right there. That you're just because the odds have been working against you or seemingly have made a pattern that you're due. Never gonna happen. Please do enjoy your time here. Still try not to get absorbed into your game. Everything's best enjoyed in moderation. Very true. Even though that's antithesis to what your business would want. So you want me to grow up to be a soldier and famous and rich, right? If that lets me spend time on neat ships like this, sure. This is cool. Listen, son. I spent a little money we had just to get you on the ship today. This is the life rich people in our country lead. Burn the sight into your memory and never forget it. I'm counting on you to make your way into the world and when you're older to make life easy for me. Well, isn't that just wholesome? I want you to work your butt off so that I can retire. Terra Bomb? Pine Fresh. EP charge? We need to talk. No. No, I'm taking what is mine. Hey, I kind of found an invitation to a costume party that's going on right now. What should I do with it? You idiot! What'd you pick it up for? Those are only for super rich people, the first class rooms, not the likes of us. But still. If you're looking for the observation deck, you can reach it through those doors over there. If you're looking for the area where the party's being held, however, you need to head back downstairs. I get the feeling that maybe these are the rooms I need to go to, so I need to be careful. You look Nielsen?
これが以前からアナウンスされていた最新鋭の飛行客船ですか。
Wasn't he the guy who was traveling and inspecting the towers in the last game? After, because like, so we had obviously Weissman, who was pretending to be that professor, whatever his name is, Alba, but then this guy was doing the follow-up, right?
なるほど。このエンジン音も聞き慣れないものだ。
It sounds familiar though. Why does that voice sound familiar?
どうやら新型のようですね。
この男、目が見えないのか。
どう
Huh.
お客様、
Help.
どうかなさいましたか？
いや、なんでもない。
Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to go that way. Okay, so this takes us outside. Alden! Alden! Oh, Listinia, why are you so beautiful? I do wish you top speed was a little faster than 1000 APH, but nothing can beat you when it comes to sheer size or capacity. Fitting a whole 1000 people on board isn't something any airship could boast. I'm pretty sure that you're one of those like NPCs whose story we followed along all the time. Sorry for calling you out here out of nowhere like this. But so, I wanted to meet with you. But you came all the way to the ship just for that. You do know what will happen if my father finds out, don't you? Ooh. I'm so grateful I was able to see you today like this. Surely I am, but if father were to find out... Yeah. I think he was the one saying that she like was feeling ill. Got no business this way.
さっさと済ませてしまおうか。
Scared myself with that. And it's locked. Now, I'm worried that like this is the room I need to get into, so maybe I try the other way first before I come back here. Oh, okay. So that alright, there's nothing else I can explore. Yeah. I get a feeling this is where we're gonna get our first fight.
この先は主人コンラートのプライベートルームになります。
どうかお引き取りください。
ああ、お役目ご苦労。しかし、君たちも運が悪いな。
Oh, Kevin.
何のつもり？
Oh, yeah. He's just gonna knock him out.
両兵崩れといったところか。
Oh, Jaeger dropouts.
この程度の連動なら、さほど苦労しなくて済みそうだ。いつもこのくらい楽なら助かるんだがね。
Alright, let's go, Kevin. Now, I'm guessing we're here to pick up an artifact, which is probably that thing on the table right there.
無駄に豪勢な部屋だな。さて、どこに隠してある？
Alright, let's see. Not in the bushes, right? There's a suspicious switch inside the potted plant. What? Did I literally walk right to it first thing?
スイッチか。
How did I do that?
どうやら一つだけではなさそうだ。
Ah, that's true. So there's gonna be multiple, so that's okay. Yeah.
さてお次は。
It's gonna be in all the plants. There's a switch of some sort behind the desk. Press the switch? No. That's the last one. Or maybe I do push it. Oh, nope. It's just a bunch of switches just around the room. Oh. In the armrest of the sofa. I'll switch to reset.
フェイクか。やれやれ。
So that one's fake. Oh. According to the rugs oddly worn. Stand on it? Yes.
どうやら一つだけではな。
Now part of me thinks that there's an order to this too.
まだあるな。
There we go. Nice. That'll be kind of fun. The story showcasing a lot of like puzzles and thinking. Probably going to be some similar mechanics in the future.
お約束というやつだな。ここまで予想通りならば、おそらく。
This is a trap. Oh. Oh! The panel with buttons have letters written on them. A password of some kind apparently must be entered.
可能性としては。
Orpheus or Opherus? Alpheus. I think it's Orpheus. Boom.
やはりな。今回のターゲット。連中がばらまいたおもちゃの可能性が高そうだ。
Yeah, so Ouroboros, Orpheus, they spread off like they cause havoc by just taking like the minor stuff that they don't need, or they probably replicate. So they get the artifacts, they learn how to like remake them for their own purposes, and then they just start distributing them to get money and cause chaos. You gotta remember that the Ouroboros is ooh, what is that? Ouroboros is causing havoc, and we're kind of like the opposition force to them. The music's really pretty already.
愚者のロケット。
The Fool's Locket.
身につければ大抵の嘘を相手に信じさせることができる。禁断のアーティファクトの一つか。やれやれ。武器商人風情が大それたもの。
Of course. You didn't think that was gonna happen?
どういうことだ。見張りの連中は一体何をしていた。
二人揃って仲良く眠らされてたぜ。針か噴射器を使ったらしい。
同業者かもしれんな。このままパーティーが終わるまで中に拘束する。コンラート様に報告するのはその後にするぞ。
仲間がいる可能性は。
監視カメラの記憶を見る限りこいつ一人のようだ。ただバックアップが他にいる可能性は高いだろう。
今のうちに招待客全員をマークした方が良さそうだな。
Oh?
今のは。
おい貴様。
いや何。侮っていたことを詫びようと思ってね。良平崩れのチンピラかと思えばなかなかどうして大した連動だ。
こいつ。
そちらこそ大した度胸だ。貴様の背景が何かは知らんが、コンラート様は容赦のない方だ。このまま無事に済むと思うなよ。
舌を噛み切った方がマシだと思えるような目に合わせてやる。
Dang, that's cold.
それは魅力的なお誘いだ。ただあいにくこちらも戦略があってね。
Yeah, that's the Kevin I know. Holy crap! Oh no!
なんだ。
ああ、一つ言い忘れていた。君だ。はよそこから離れとった方がええで。
Oh my gosh! Run!
バカな。動力砲の直撃にも耐えられる扉だぞ。
It is like this is a problem I noted in the last chapter, and again I'm gonna say it here. Is like the trouble with people who can be this strong is it means that like how is anyone supposed to like function in any form of security when a person can do something like that? It's actually the same problem I have with like D&D. You get these higher level player characters that literally can like obliterate villages in a heartbeat, and it's like how are you supposed to like scale that with like normal average people?
やれやれ。この技手加減すんの難しいんやで。あんまり手間かけさせんといてや。
There he is.
なんだ。
教会の神父。
一応正真正銘の神父やで。今なら懺悔格安で聞いたってもええよ。
For extra cheap.
兄さんら随分と後ろぐらい過去持ってそうやし。
惑わされるな。一斉にかかるぞ。
Here we go.
はあ、そこは懺悔でミラ取るんかーいって突っ込んでほしかったんやけど、まあよ、あんま時間もないことやし、まとめてかかってき。
Here we go. Oh, baby, we haven't been here for a while. Alright, let's see. Okay, so it looks a little different. Let's see what arts we got. We got the healing arts, and we got earth arts. Oh, he's got everything. Holy crap. What level are we supposed to be? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of do... I'm down with this music, by the way. Perfect. Let's get them all. Perfect. Wonderful. You get clocked down, I get clock up. Say goodbye to all your turds. That defense down is annoying though. Alright, now let's see. We have boom. Boom. So easy.
Still a ways to go.
Yeah, he's got the English voice line there. He's level 90 to start. I guess that's what he was in my game, wasn't it? Yeah. He would have been level 90.
教会の使い手、噂だけは聞いていたが。
どんな噂かっちゅうのはあえて聞かんことにしとくわ。心配せんでも俺の狙いはあんたらの雇い主だけや。安心して気絶しとったらええよ。
You'll live to see tomorrow.
化け物が。
さてと、目的のブツは回収した。とっととパーティー会場に戻って仕上げに入るとしようか。
You know, I just realized, because I don't, like, does he have the orbment setup and gear setup that I gave him in my
で
game?
もあのマダムのお誘いを逃すのはもったいないかもな。体してたし、いかにも旦那に満足してへんって感じやったし。
Oh, Kevin, you dog.
ま、火遊びはほどほどにしとこか。
Probably not. Alright, I'm gonna take a quick look at my gear and then we're gonna get out of here. Information, defense. I mean, maybe. I can't remember exactly what I had on him. Ritter bow. Okay, definitely not these. So the basic equipment's not the same. Ornament's probably not too then. But still, very cool. Alright, let's get out of here.
こっちは一等客室さらうと面白そうやけど。
Ah, that's too bad. Hey boys. Unlucky that I didn't drop you with that one, but that's okay.
Still a ways to go.
Alright, off we go. Round 3, huh? Oh, hello. Now you guys might be interesting. I remember last time you guys were a bit tougher.
Alright, what's next?
What if I hit level 91 before this ends? Alright, moving on. Oh, look at him. He's like, oh! What's going on here? We're not gonna crash, are we? You wouldn't fall out of the air on me, would you, Lysenia? Poor guy missed his chance to run away. There's something familiar about him, but, well, I best leave him all alone. I knew it. It's so funny. Why is he still here? Is he gonna be like a hapless NPC through every game? Alright, Well, there's definitely gonna be a guard around here, right? And that one guy's gone.
会場は
Hey, boys. Yeah, nope. We're gonna do mortal punishment. God, it looks so brutal. But you.
All right, what's next?
Getting close.
会場は
Am I really gonna run all the way back and confront everyone? The door is locked. Okay, so maybe they secure the cabins and make everyone like lock their rooms. Oh, hello. Oh, spread out this time, huh?
Still a ways to go.
Almost there. Yeah, I think they're all gonna be locked, so no worry. No, and there's nothing in there anymore anyway, so. Oh boy.
北の両兵の名にかけてここから先は一歩も通さん
The Northern Jaegers.
やっぱり現役バリバリの両兵団。しかも割と有名どころやったか。お国の事情はわかるんやけど、ここは引いてもらえへんかな。
I know it's tough rough for your country, but could you just let me go?
黙れ。貴様に俺たちの何がわかる。
飢えと貧困に苦しむ我らがノーザンブリアのためにも
Okay.
まったく世知辛い世の中やね。ええやろ。こちらも全力で行かせてもらうで。
Here we go. There we go.
Still a ways to go.
Hey, it's level 1.
なんだ一体何が起こっている。
おそらく侵入者かと。
しかもどうやらかなりの手だれのようです。
何のために貴様らを雇ったと思っている。殺しても構わん。とっとと排除するがいい。
いやあ、そいつは無理ですわ。
なんだ貴様。教会の神父。
Yep.
まさか。
He's like, oh crap!
さすがにこんなものを持っとったら俺らの存在は知っとるか。
貴様返せ。それは私のものだ。
He sounds like so many people yelling in Yakuza games sound like that. It's so funny.
残念やけどこいつは女神に返すべきもの。一個人が気軽に持っていていいもんやない。
殺せ。
Oh.
早くこいつを殺してロケットを取り戻せ。
Holy crap! Oh boy! Dun 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 dun
ヘル
dun!
マン・コンラード、教会法に基づきエイドスの名において貴殿の身柄を拘束する。
Yeah.
容疑はアーティファクトの無断所持および不正使用や。
こんなことをしてただで済むと思うなよ。
I absolutely do think I can.
いくら必要協会とはいえラインフォルトの取締役である私に手を出したら。
ああ、それに関しては先方とも話はついとるわ。
Your board members all agreed.
どうせあんたこいつを使って相当無茶なことしてたんやろ。さすがに各方面でいろいろと問題が起きてたみたいやで。
Dang, Kevin.
あんたみたいな戸様やとさぞかし敵も多そうやしね。ま、運が悪かったと思って おとなしくオナーについてや。
Ooh, he has like a pistol. I don't know if we've seen like a little handheld before.
余計な手間かけさせんなよ。今回はえらい簡単な任務やと思ったけど、生かして捕らえるんもそれなりに面倒やな。
そこまでだ。
Uh-huh. Oh, hello, boys.
完全武装してきたか。さすが名高き北の良兵。迅速な対応やね。
黙れ。こうして武装した以上、先ほどのように行くとは思うなよ。
言っておくが、この船には一個中隊の戦力が控えている。人質を取ったからといって貴様の逃げ場はどこにもないぞ。
はあ、今回はお互いラッキーやね。
はあ、何を言っている。
もしこの小悪党が下法に認定されてたら、危うく君ら全員を狩ることになってる。
Oh, what? If he'd been branded a heretic, you'd have to execute all of them? What? You'd have to do purges? That's crazy. That's actually kind of terrifying. I said before too, like the Septian Church group, this like the Gralsritters, they are meant to be this kind of like secret police trying, and basically in opposition to Ouroboros. But I said that like my impression was, especially with the way Kevin had to talk about his own work, is that they're ultimately Ouroboros just on the other side, but they're pretty underhanded and they definitely are willing to kill if needed be.
これにめげずに故郷復興のために励んでや。
Aw, see, look how sad he looks.
俺らの獲物にならん程度にな。
I thought he had an exit strategy like that. Look at him go. Oh, I thought he was going to go all the way to the bottom. Didn't realize he had backup in another airship.
バカな。聖杯騎士団。
Yeah, they are. Oh, you, the creepy dude. Or girl. It is a good dude.
なかなか楽しませてくれる。だがお話はこれからだよ。ケビン・グラハム。
I'm guessing you're one of the higher ups in Ouroboros. Oh, look at that mask. Oh, that's creepy.
何せ私はまだ目覚めたばかりなのだから。
I've only just awoken. What's that mean? What does it mean? That's cool. I'm excited. Here's the intro. Sometimes I like to find myself out and let it play, but I'll go ahead and give reactions to stuff. Yeah, look at that. That's the destruction. Oh, so that cube is something that fell out of the ark. No, that's not the ornament at the core, is it? Like, was that like lost there? I thought it like went away, but maybe that's something else. Okay, so this is gonna be another main character. Okay, there's a lot of emphasis on her. Pretty important then. Ah, Liberl. Hey, Kevin. I wish I were half as cool as Kevin is. There's that airship we were just on. Right. So that's our antagonist. And then that cube. That's going to be something there. Hey, Estelle, Joshua. Oh, it's good that they... Oh, Ben. It's got all my big hitters in this one. We're going to see a lot of Capulas. Okay, it's like everybody, yeah. Are we going to see all of them? What is that? You. I don't like that one. Zero, the Joker guy. Okay, interesting. 05. I couldn't read the name as it went past. And then the classic, the trail in the sky. Beautiful. All right, it's pretty spicy implications with a lot of that, huh? But yeah, I kind of thought this was going to be a game where we might not see Estelle and Joshua, like the focus would be taken from them, because we were going to play as a different protagonist. But sounds like they might actually be a part of this journey. Again, though, they just might not be the focus. Maybe they're going to just be support characters this time. Marco Merkaba. Septian Church, Gralsritter, Operation Special Ops Airship, Merkaba number 5. Merkaba number 5. Look at that tiny little ship. It's really, like, it looks sleek. It looks like a shoe.
グラハム卿、お疲れ様でした。
Squire Caesar.
お疲れ様です。
Squire Markia.
今回は割とあっさりと片付いたみたいですね。
ま、いつもに比べたら気楽な方が助かったわ。はあ、時間に余裕があったら勇敢マダムとのアバンチュールも楽しめたんやけどな。
God, that's a mood. I'll settle for crying myself to sleep.
また、あんまり羽目を外してると総長に睨まれますよ。
へいへい。まったく君らも固いな。なんで俺みたいないい加減な奴のところに配属されたかわからんわ。
It's probably because you're a slacker.
曲がりなりにも守護騎士の一人でいらっしゃるのですから。このメルカバを含めてそれなりのバックアップは受けていただかないと。
重騎士の数だって定員をかなり下回っていますし、いっそここらで思い切って人を増やしてみたらどうです？
んなことしたら余計に一人で動きにくくなるやん。慎んで遠慮させてもらうわ。
やれやれ。
もう少し頼っていただけると我々も安心なのですが。
Like, it's kind of funny, but Kevin, like, I wonder why. Like, why? Like, maybe he doesn't like pulling people into this organization. Like, he doesn't feel like the burdens of this lifestyle are something he wants to push on others.
半年前の一件にしても潮の杭の運搬しかお手伝いできませんでしたし。
あれの運搬はそれなりに重大な任務なんやけどな。下手に動いて奴に警戒されるわけにもいかへんかったし。
え？
いや、なんでもない。予定通りこのままアルテリアへ帰還する。
Arteria?
明日の、いや、もう今日か。昼過ぎには戻れるやろ。
ラジャ。
Uh-oh. It's always something, isn't it?
どこからや？
アルテリア。セルナート総長からの直々のご連絡です。
マジでか。こういうタイミングであの人から連絡が入った時はろくなことがないんやけど。
You have a new mission.
しゃあない。繋いでや。
了解。
Oh yeah, the TV screen.
Yeah,
Oh, hello.
ご苦労だったな。
I like you. You look cool.
守備の方はどうだ？
ええ、つつがなく。ブツは愚者のロケット。蛇の気配はありましたけど、多分尻尾切りの対象ですやろ。
そうか。ほぼ睨んだ通りだったな。ご苦労だった。帰還して体を休めてくれ。と言いたいところだが。
Of course.
そら来た。
ん？なんだ？
いやいや、続けたってください。
うん。任務終了早々悪いんだが、一つ君に頼みたいことがあってね。
Yeah, no shock.
下法絡みですか。
See, this is the work I think he hates, is heretic work.
いや、ただの回収物だ。グランセル大聖堂の地下に一時的に保管してあるらしい。
Oh.
グランセル？なるほど。和関係かもしれないっちゅうことですか。
可能性は高いだろう。
Oh yeah, I imagine with all the debris of the Liberl arc falling into the lake, they're probably really closely watching, trying to see like if someone fishes something up or goes diving and tries to extract material. Because I was saying for a while now, like if I were in Liberl and like I saw that, I'd be like, oh wow, everyone's safe now, and immediately like get a crew together, get diving teams, let's go, get whatever we can find. Because I'd be like, we gotta figure out more about that place.
どうだろう。頼めるかな？
了解ですわ。星の護送もあるんで、このままメルカバはアルテリアに戻らせます。リベールへは俺一人で。
ああ、よろしく頼む。そうそう。この件に関しては、新人の重騎士を一人派遣した。
I bet you that's the sister we saw in the intro.
君の下に新たにつけるから、よろしく面倒を見てやってくれ。
They'll be serving you from now on.
ちょっと待ったってください。新人って、あんたそんないきなり。
女神の巡り合わせはいつでも唐突なものだよ。
Mm-hmm. Now the thing about the goddess is like, is it just like a deity figure where everyone speaks like assuming that they know what the goddess actually wants, or is the goddess somebody who can actually interact? I was thinking like we saw like dragons and they're ancient beings. goddess could be an ancient being like that. What if it is a dragon or something similar? So it's an actual being that they know about, that they actually communicate with.
訓練の成績も優秀だったから足手まといにはならないだろう。
Okay.
それでは健闘を祈る。
そのよかったじゃないですか。新人が入ってくるみたいで。
いいことあるかい。はあ、まったくあの人は昔っから変わらへんな。
Yeah.
とても小説のモデルになった人とは思えへんわ。
Wait, if all the people reading that book had any idea what a hellion she is in real life. Reading that book, is that Carnelia?
ああ、カーネリアでしたっけ？
What the fetch? That was her? I thought she died, or did she fake her death? So if that's Carnelia, she's the head of the organization. She's the woman was the story we read earlier in the chat. That's really fun. I told you reading those stories is worth it, even if it takes a while.
あれ、いいんですかね。
Dang.
我々の存在を世に周知しているような気が。
あれくらい芝居がかった内容なら、かえっていい目くらましやろ。
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true. There's two ways you can use to fight for information. It's either you hide it and try and prevent it from ever being known, or you overstate it and make it seem so ridiculous or so commonly like fictitious that no one would actually believe you if you said it was real.
ヒロインが死んだとかいうのも適当なか乱情報になっとるし。
I'm really glad I read those books.
もっとも実物を知ってたら簡単に死ぬような玉やないってすぐに分かりそうなもんやけどな。
I like her. Carnelia seems pretty cool.
まあ、コメントは差し控えておきましょう。
ともかく話は聞いての通りや。今回の件の後始末は君らに全面的に引き継ぐ。ミラの流れは洗った方がええな。まだまだ隠し口座がありそうや。
なるほど。我々はこのままアルテリアに戻るとして、あなたの方はどうします？
そやな。適当な自治州で降ろしてや。できれば国際定期船が出とる町の近くがええかな。
ラジャ。
Uh-oh, what is that? Okay.
そろそろ夜明けですね。
I had a flashback to the Liberl arc. I was like, oh no. God, it's so bright. Dang, so cool. What a fantastic start. There it is, the prologue, the Gralsritter. Very fun. That's where we're going to end things. So it should let me save, and I'm going to close out of the game when I do save, but that's where we're going to end things for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm really glad I read that story. So if you skipped it, honestly, you might want to go back because they're making direct references, and one of the characters in the story is the head of our organization. That's so cool. And again, that's why it's you should always read the text, especially if they give them all to you. It's because they're going to become relevant. That's a pattern we're seeing now. So just keep in mind, if I find bookshelves and I see an entire set, I'm going to read it because it's obviously going to be important later. But I love how these side stories that they hid throughout the first two games as little bonus Easter eggs are actually build-ups of lore. Oh, that's such a cool detail. That's something I wish I could do with my D&D I do Pathfinder now, but my Pathfinder games, I build up all this back lore. I wish I could throw in random short stories. And maybe I can and just make them available, but I just don't know if they'd be that appealing for most people who are playing in the game. Oh well, should be still fun. I'm really excited. That's going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be a journey to explore, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to finally start it with you all. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Whilst being longer, without tons of content, I think it's a great start, and it's exciting to see where this story will end up taking us. Although, it also makes me worry, because it's if we're going to be seeing all the characters we saw last time, plus a bonus character, that's going to be so many characters to run around with. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare to keep everyone up to pace or leveled properly, but I guess it's not too bad with the rubber banding they use for the level up system, so it shouldn't be too bad. But I'm looking forward to doing all this, hunting shiny palms and all the good classics with you. So thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed. If you're a patron or member, thank you especially. It means the world to me that you're willing to support a channel like mine. I obviously will do everything in my power to make content that's worth your investment, using that investment to try and make the channel better and invest in maintaining equipment, upgrading said equipment, getting custom artwork done for the channel occasionally. Basically, just everything that's ever donated to the channel goes directly back into the channel, plus, my own funds for what I want to do, because I love making content, so I'm going to do my best to make it as good as possible. But, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to all that later. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you're looking forward to future episodes. This will be coming back every Thursday from here on out for the next good while. These games tend to be pretty long, and whilst I could cut out a lot more content, I like being able to showcase a majority of the site stuff. If anything, I tend to cut out travel time and a lot of the combats. But I like when it comes to exploring, interacting with NPCs, I keep as much of that in as I can that I think would be interesting. So long videos, slowly marching through, but kind of enjoying and sharing every bit of it I can. So I appreciate your patience. I hope you enjoy. And until the next video you're watching with me or happen to see me in next, I'll see you there. Oh, wait, hang on. In disguise of Midwestern Zamurmia, roughly 500 strike from Liberl. I thought it was going to let me save. They had the chapters that always let you save. Guess not. International Airliner, Gratia. And look, there's a friendly face. So many friendly faces. Dorita, it's good to see you. No, or Dorothy. What, Dorothy? Dorothina? I don't know. I can't remember her name exactly, but we know who she is. And the music. Dorothy.
渡り鳥さんかな。さすがにジーク君とは違って飛行船には追いつけないみたい。
ジーク。
でもみんなキュートで可愛かったな。
あれ？ジョーちゃんひょっとして。
Hey。
あなたは。
I know you too。
ドロシーちゃん、久しぶりやな。まさか偶然飛び乗った船に乗り合わせるなんて思わんかったわ。
私もびっくりです。お久しぶりですね。
Oh no。
あれ
？Sure, cast that net wide.
ひょっとして名前。
やだな、そんなことありませんよ。そうだ、ネギグラハムさんですね。
Onion Graham?
そうそう、煮てよし焼いてよし、薬味なんかにもおすすめですってちゃうわ。それどう考えても人の名前やあらへんし、中華グラハム覚えとんのに、なんで名前の方は覚えてへんねん。
Yeah, you managed to remember my last name.
冗談ですってば。実はおととい東方人街でネギ料理をいただいたばかりなんです。これがもうほんと美味しくって、お鍋なんてネギしか入れてないのにホコホコでじゅわーっと甘くて。
Dorothy, you are such a special person.
それでついつい間違えちゃったんです。
まあ。
Is the association literally just because they rhyme? Onion, Kevin.
それでドロシーちゃん、結局俺の名前なんやけど。
任せてくださいよ、ドビンさん。本当にお久しぶりです。
No, that's just rice.
そうそう、旬の素材を入れて蒸らしたら美味しいお吸い物の出来上がり。
Also the flour. I was thinking jasmine rice. Sorry.
ってそれはさすがに無理があるやろ。
はあ、なるほど。ケビンさんはあの事件の追加調査のためにまたリベールに来たんですね。
ま、そんなとこかな。そやドロシーちゃんはなんで国際定期船に乗っとんの？東方人街とか言ってたけど、まさか取材旅行にでも行ってたん？
そうなんですよ。今回もナイアル先輩に一人で行ってこいって言われて。
Are you sure he actually wanted you to write a story, or did he just want to get rid of you for a while?
へえ、 あの人も思い切ったことするな。
Agreed.
外国での取材旅行やのにドロシーちゃん一人に任せようとするなんて。しかしそうやね。そうやって責任を持たせることで人は成長するのかもしれへんね。
任せてくださいよ。最初はボースマーケットの取材のはずだったんですけど、なんとかなるもんですね。
Oh my gosh, you were supposed to go to Bose and you went to the Calvert Republic? What's the sad story? Dorothy, seriously.
ナイアルさんに言われたんは
How did you do that?
そのはずだったんですけど、定期船の座席で居眠りして目を覚ましたらカルバードの首都に到着してたんですよ。
Can you imagine just doing that? You get on like an airplane. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fly to across the country. Fall asleep, you wake up in Dubai. It's like, what?
不思議なこともあるもんですね。
それ思いっきり乗る船を間違えてるやん。それでそのまま共和国に何日もいたんか？
Oh my gosh.
パスポートとか旅費とかは？
それがちょうど空港にリベール大使館の人がいて仮アップをしてくれたんです。
I have a headache already. Oh my gosh.
取材旅行中もいろんな人が親切にしてくれたからミラにも困りませんでしたし。
What? They just started handing you money?
はあ、こう突っ込みどころが多いとさすがの俺でもさばけんわ。
What is this creature?
しかしそんな事情やったらナイアルさんもさぞかし心配しとるんとちゃうか？
どうなんでしょう。昨日編集部に帰るって連絡したらお腹痛そうな声してましたけど。
Oh, so at least he knows.
やっぱりタバコの吸いすぎは体に良くないですよね。
それはタバコっちゅうよりストレス性の胃炎やと思うけど。
I'm pretty sure you're what's worse for his health.
本日は国際定期船グレトナ号をご利用いただき、あと30分ほどで本船は終点リベール王国王都グランセルに到着します。皆様手荷物などをご確認の上、着陸前にはご着席くださるようお願い申し上げます。それでは引き続き空の旅をお楽しみください。
あともうちょいで到着か。俺は着陸まで船内を散策するつもりやけど。
Yeah, of course. We gotta have the traditional Estelle walk around.
ドロシーちゃんはどないする？
そうですね。せっかくの国際定期船ですし、私ももう少しいろんなところを取っておくことにします。
Yeah, I'm sure. Especially not in the future.
そっか。頑張ってな。
それではまた後で。
Dorothy, you are something else. Alright. With that, we're definitely going to end. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to now save here. I already kind of did my outro. I'm just going to say that I'm surprised because in the first two games, every time that screen popped, I would like prologue, chapter, and it always let me save before I moved on. That never not happened before. So I don't know if I clicked something wrong or what, but we're going to just end things here. I already kind of said my summary of thought, other than the fact that Dorothy was a fantastic addition to this beginning, and I'm looking forward to wandering about the ship at the beginning of next episode. So thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have a great day, and until this video, watching me, if you see me next, I'll see you there. Bye for real this time.